You know what vibe you're giving right now?
What vibe am I getting?
You're not going to get this reference because you never watched Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, but for anyone who did, it's giving Miss Wardwell, aka Madam Satan, which is kind of iconic because she was one of my favorite characters. But it's giving that vibe.
Thank you.
Hello, sinners, and hail Sappho. It's your hostess with the mostest, Narcissa DeVille. And if you're new to this channel, first of all, hello, welcome. We've been expecting you. This is a channel where we do weekly videos. This week is, of course, our review of Good Omens, episode 4. Can you believe we're already on episode 4?
I know.
That is so...
It just gets us one step closer to season 2.
Yes. And that's what I'm most excited about because let's be honest, we have already said season 2 is kind of our favorite.
Yes.
I think it's everyone's favorite, if I'm being honest.
I agree.
I'm sure there are people who prefer season 1, but I imagine it's the people who like really, really liked the book.
Okay.
Again, not that I hated the book, I just prefer season 2. Anyway, and then season 3 will be our favorite, and so we'll go from there. But my crop is topping.
I'm trying to say baby steps, and I hear you, and my crop is topping.
My single is dropping. Oh my God. I still live for that. And of course, with me, as always, is my lovely co-hostess, Mother DeVille, as you may know her. She is my actual mother. We look exactly alike, so I think that kind of helps. Although we have vastly different makeup styles. Yours is more subdued, which is not which is not a read. I think it works for you, and my makeup works for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, when I'm 107, I don't know if I could pull off this look. I will certainly try.
I look good for 107. So back off, bitch.
I mean, this is a show about 6,000-year-old immortal beings. So I think being 107, you're still a baby.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking. Speaking about season 2, literally none of the main cast in season 2 is under the age of 50. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Like all of them are like middle-aged 50s. Like that's astounding. We need more shows like that, I will say.
For sure.
Like none of the core cast is under the age. Maybe John Hamm, but I don't think so. He's got to be in his 40s or 50s.
I'm not
so
sure.
He might be the youngest one of the cast.
What about, are you talking about season 1?
No, season 2. Because you can't include the kids.
No, I'm not talking about the kids. I'm talking about the one who's the granddaughter of... Oh, why can't I think of names? Names come to me. The one who has the prophecy book.
She's not in season 2.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Anathema isn't in season 2.
Anathema, thank you.
Season 1 has the kids, Anathema and Newt, but everyone else is like in their 50s. But season 2, none of the core cast is under the age of like 50, which is kind of incredible. And really exciting. We don't see that a lot in modern television, I will say. So episode 4 starts with us on the cruise ship. We actually just watched this, and of course I forgot everything we just fucking watched.
Yeah.
Because we've been kind of watching other things in the meantime as well. This one is the cruise ship. They find Atlantis, or they kind of crash land into Atlantis. I think it kind of gives very like Noah's Ark vibes. Yes. I know you really loved Atlantis.
I really did.
I think it's
beautiful. It's set up beautiful.
It's really well done. Yes. I don't know if they had like a practical set or if that was mostly just CGI. I'd be very interested to know that. Because it kind of gives like it could be either or. Yeah. I think they do a mix on this show from what I've seen from other scenes. Yeah. Which is kind of cool.
Yes.
I really like this scene. It's kind of a short scene, and I think even in the book, it's not like a super long scene. Yeah. The inclusion of this, but I do like how they kind of include also like some news snippets and then a Facebook post from a passenger. I just think that's a really funny idea.
How they did it was really, really good.
And it fits in with what we know. Like it feels very modern, which is, I think kind of fitting. So we cut to Adam in bed, hearing the voices telling him to make it happen, make it real. Yeah. And then we cut to Adam and them talking about aliens. My favorite line is when he says, stuff on the internet can be made up, but this is in magazines, so it has to be real.
But I thought he said, oh, okay, yeah.
I just think that's so
And
funny.
I was like,
because you're like, I don't think that's correct. I think anyone can make anything up.
But he's what, 11?
He also says that what I say is real because I say it's real, which is kind of true because he's the Antichrist. But I also feel like that's just an 11-year-old thing to say. It's like, what I say is real because I say it's real. So there, what then?
Yeah.
So I kind of love that too.
Yeah. Are we close to that part where the fishing boat and the...
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. No, that's like towards the end.
Ah,
You're like way off. Then we cut to Aziraphale in the park. He spots someone kind of cosplaying as like a bronze angel, and he's kind of just like staring at them, which I think is kind of cute.
Yeah.
And then we see Gabriel run by, and Aziraphale is struggling to keep up with him because our poor baby does not like to run. He does not like to move like that, which I don't really blame him. I know, I was just going to say, I'm like, I don't either, so I don't blame him. But it's also kind of sad because it's like, you technically shouldn't need to breathe, so I don't know if being out of breath is...
I know. But the whole thing with Gabriel, okay, so you're human and you're like running in your gray sweatsuit. I'm like, well, get out.
Well, I love though that his tracksuit has like little angel wings. I just think that's so funny. Yeah. Because like if you pay attention, you can see like little angel motifs in everything that he wears. Yeah. I just find that really funny.
And then I love when he leaves, and then he all of a sudden, it's like Aziraphale is breathing a sigh of relief, and then all of a sudden he's like right there. And
he appears next to him.
Apparently you have a sword missing. And I'm
we gave you a flaming sword.
Oh, the sword!
It just keeps it's the gift that keeps on giving. Oh my goodness. Well, actually, what was funny is I was just about to talk about how technically, like right after this, it's Gabriel just tells him he should get ready, and then basically tells him he's fat, which I think is fucked up.
Yeah.
I'm like, I really don't see it.
And first of all, you're sitting there saying that it's almost the end of the world.
Yeah.
And now you're going to talk about his eating habits or that he's fat. It just didn't fit. It was just kind of stupid.
Well, it's meant to point out just kind of how much of an asshole he is. And when you consider all these things, this is why I keep saying that, like, in season 2, spoiler alert, I don't buy his fucking, not apology tour. What do they fucking call that? Oh, redemption arc? I don't fucking buy it because I'm like, I don't like you. I don't want you redeemed. Yeah. Fuck off. Like, well, no, but like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then, of course, like you were saying.
I totally get it. Well, and, see, you're going to make me go there. And I'm just going to start talking about season 2.
Can we just skip this season and go into season 2?
Exactly, because then Crowley goes,
Yeah. We'll get there.
Why is he here?
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay,
we'll get there. So, like you were saying, Gabriel runs off, and then he just appears right next to him in a second, and he's like,
yes.
You were issued a flaming sword. You didn't lose that, did you? And Aziraphale's like, what, like I'd just give it away? And it's like, yeah, sweetie, you would. But that's cute. I kind of, it's funny.
Yeah, it's very funny.
What I do love the whole line where Gabriel goes, what are you? And Aziraphale goes, I'm soft. I'm like, oh, you're so cute. I just want to pinch you. Wait, here we go. I just want to pinch his little cheeks. I'd have to take him out of the box for that. So, I mean, I could. I don't know. I'm just worried he's not going to stand up on his own.
Yeah.
He's a little top heavy. Aren't we all? I think I'm a little topless. Well, never mind.
I'm like, what? What are we talking about now?
I realized I was like, this isn't, this is going somewhere else. Next, we cut to the delivery man in his home, about to leave. We get to meet his wife for kind of a brief moment. Yes. It's a silly little scene. It's kind of cute. I like the idea that they booked this 6,000 years in advance before the company existed. Like, that was a joke. Yeah. It's like, he's like, well, I've seen the paperwork. And I'm like, I have so many questions.
Yeah.
When would you have submitted that paperwork and to whom? It's so confusing. It's like, hey, in 6,000 years, this is going to exist. So start delivering this shit. What? Okay. We cut back to heaven where Michael and Gabriel are having a conversation, and it's revealed that there are Earth observation files in which they have several photos of Crowley and Aziraphale kind of talking together. I think this is such an interesting little moment because obviously this is not anywhere in the book. The angels don't really play a role in the book like that. Gabriel is, I think, vaguely mentioned once. And then, of course, the Metatron is the one who is Gabriel's position in the final kind of scene. But, like, the angels don't play this kind of role. So the idea that they have been, like, casually observing and they just happen to notice this at this point after so many thousands of years is really odd to me.
But I thought first it came from hell. When he said, hey, you know, you gotta watch your...
Well, no, because Michael said she saw the Earth observation files.
Oh.
And that's how she found out about it.
Okay.
Because I guess they were already suspicious of Aziraphale.
Okay.
But it's just kind of weird that, like, now they're... Like, now a warning?
Now a warning.
You know? Like...
But she does call down to her contact.
Yes, she does.
And she goes, you gotta
And I'm going to
trust
get
me.
to that. Yeah, I'm going to get to that.
I'm an angel.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that that's what precedes it. And then she asks Gabriel if she can...
further
It's actually
investigate.
shocking because Gabriel is kind of, like, chill. He's like, I'm sure there's a perfectly normal or logical explanation for this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's unusual for him. And then Michael's like, well, you know, permission to, you know, examine this on back channels. And Gabriel's like, there are no back channels. And she's like, yeah, okay. And she turns around and leaves. And you're like, okay, well, I don't trust this bitch. And then, you know, you see her kind of in a hallway between stairs and she's calling down to hell. And she's like, well, you know, is there a possibility that Crowley's working for you? Or no, is there a possibility that Aziraphale is working for you? And then when they find out no, they're like, well, you better watch Crowley because he's up to something. She's like, of course you can trust me. I'm an angel. And as someone has pointed out... Right? Someone has pointed out, which I think is very interesting, that the interaction between Michael and Ligger in that scene is a lot different than the scene with Michael and Beelzebub later when she's talking in season 2 when she's talking about the whole Book of Life thing. It's a totally different kind of interaction. It seems like it almost comes off flirtatious when it's with Ligger, but clearly, so some people have speculated maybe there was something there, and they also think that's why Michael was specifically the one sent down to do the holy water because it was like a personal thing for her. I think that's very interesting if that's true, because that also kind of lends to this idea that apparently just everyone in hell and heaven is like shacking up. They just don't know it. Of course. Which I find...
Because they're too much alike.
Yeah. Well, fully. And we've talked about that. Yeah. But two halves of the same annoying ass coin, really. I do think it's funny, though, Michael is saying, you as a demon cannot trust a fellow demon in Crowley, but you can trust Michael, who's an angel, over a fellow demon. That's kind of weird to me. And the fact that they clearly do trust Michael over Crowley is just kind of says how much they do not like him. Yeah. And it's like really annoying, but like, okay, whatever, sure, fine. So then we cut back to Crowley in his flat and he's trying to figure out where to go. He's looking at kind of the big book of astronomy, which I think is really funny. He's looking at like the moon or Alpha Centauri, which of course we've discussed is like the,
apparently
has their initials. It's the it place, but it has their initials, but it also has, their initials, but it's also a twin planet that looks like one from Earth. So it's, they're like constantly rotating each other. So of course, then we see Crowley talking about helping to build the nebula. He starts praying to God, which frankly is just depressing to me. It's really weird because, and I think I've said this before, people have kind of said that season 2 is like definitely not Crowley season. It's like Crowley in the no good, very bad, awful day, you know? Like it's just a lot of shit going down for him. Yeah. But I feel like in season 1, he's very maudlin. Like I said, he's praying to God and like there's all these moments where he's just very frustrated and kind of like alone, which you don't see in season 2. I feel so it's kind of interesting. We don't really get this side of Crowley, and again, it's not in the book either, so it's like this introspective thing. And I think people have said in comments like, oh well, it makes sense because it's the end of the world and stuff like that, but I'm like, I don't know, if you're a demon, I still feel like praying to the person who kicked you out doesn't make a lot of sense. And
it's the end of the world as in just Earth. It's not the end of them.
Well, but technically, if heaven wins, they're gonna destroy hell. So it would be the end of them.
Oh, that's what they mean by that?
Yeah, that's the whole
I
point.
didn't know.
Yeah, that's the whole point. If they win, it's supposed to be heaven on earth for the rest of eternity. So it'll be Aziraphale by the fuck himself. Well, I guess with humans, but...
Yeah.
Then, of course, we cut to the delivery driver who's making the delivery to Pollution. He almost gets hit by a lorry. I will say, God's narration over here talking about, like, spooning and forking, I did not need to hear God talk about that. I really didn't.
Now, you've said he went to Pollution, but I thought he went to war first.
He already went to war. That was, like, a couple episodes back.
Oh, okay.
He went to war and famine already. That was a few episodes
right.
back.
Okay.
We're on Pollution now.
Okay.
Yeah. I love the idea that Pollution took over when Pestilence retired. I think it's so, like, especially nowadays, especially with where we are, it's so funny the thought that, like, oh, there were so many vaccines and everything, and Pestilence didn't really have a reason to exist anymore. Now it's like, sorry, bud, you're back in the game. You're out of retirement because we don't believe in vaccines anymore. So the last delivery, of course, is for Death. I did put in the notes that it doesn't really make clear in the show what the note is for Death. I do know in the book, I think it just says deliver to everywhere, and that's somehow how he figures it out. I don't really remember. But yeah, that's what the note says. So he writes this love letter to his wife and then steps out and gets hit by the lorry. And then, of course,
but then he thought that
he thought he survived because he could, and then he saw his own dead body and he's like, oh, well,
crap.
Shit. Yeah. It's like, they got me, gal.
They got me, gal. But then he says and asks that question to Death.
Yeah, what does it mean?
What does it
because
mean?
He said, come and see, I think is what the note was to deliver to him. Yeah. And he basically just says, you know, it's begun, you know, the end of the world. Yeah. And so he gets kind of taken away in like stars. It's actually kind of pretty. Yeah. Weirdly. Yeah. Then we cut to Adam and the them going to Jasmine Cottage. Anathema offers them chocolates. I love the idea that they're like, we don't take sweets from witches. And then Wensleydale's like, you know what? Nah, fuck it. I'm going to take those chocolates. Yeah. He's like, I do. And then they all follow. They're like, fuck it. Whatever. Like, let's go. And then, of course, they're kind of vaguely talking to Anathema, but Adam gets distracted seeing a picture of the devil, which is, of course, his father. And he kind of just, like, zones out and is staring at this thing. And it's like,
and they're like, come on.
Heat effect.
Adam, let's leave. And he goes, I didn't say you could leave.
Yeah, and he gets very territorial real quick. You're like, okay, girl. So then we cut to Newt and Shadwell. I almost said Shadfield for some reason. They're talking about Tadfield. They're about to send. He's about to send Newt to Tadfield. Yes. So I got all mixed up there. And then of course, you know, he's given him all the Witchfinder supplies. I will say, I do love the scene around here where Newt gets stopped by the alien because it's so
corny, but cute as fuck.
It's very weird. It's very funny. It's campy, let's say. Yes. I like that they're like green, but also duck-like. I love that they have no idea why the fuck they're
lipstick.
there.
Yeah. We have no idea. I mean, their whole exchange.
Yeah. It's very silly.
And Newt's like, happening?
Yeah, right? Yeah. And then I love that he calls Shadwell, and Shadwell's like, did you count how many nipples they've got? And he's like, you're a witch finder, not an alien finder. But I'll make a note of it. I'm like, damn, so sassy. But like, the whole thing is just kind of funny to me. Yeah. It's like, what point? They were wearing like silver suits. At what point were you going to count their nipples?
But you know,
like, excuse me.
But the thing that makes it so hilarious and, like you said, campy, because it was thought in the head of an 11-year-old.
Yeah,
so that's true. Apparently what he's thinking in his head. Yeah. What an alien must look like.
That's fair. And then we cut to Adam and them eating ice cream, talking about whales. I love Pepper being like, whales are so dumb. All they do is sit around and sing. And then she's like, oh my God, I want to be a whale. I was like, you know what?
So iconic. Love Pepper to death.
No, you're so right. She is the best.
The child you'd want.
Yeah. I would, you know what? I would watch.
That I didn't get to have. Ow!
I would watch a whole spin-off
for sure.
just about her.
Yeah. For sure.
She's so funny. She's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. I hope we get to see more of her in season 3. I hope she like runs the world. I don't care. No, but seriously, I think that'd be kind of fitting.
She's like, oh my God, I want to be a whale.
I know. I just think that's so funny. She's like, all they do is sit around and sing and blah, and swim in the water. And then she's like, oh my God, I want to be a whale. It's like, you know what? Fair. Oh, okay. So now we get to the part that you were talking about like 20 minutes ago with the whaling ship getting caught by the Kraken. This is
and the look on his dad's face, because his dad knew.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, what?
Yeah, that is really funny. I love
because they had confiscated his magazines. Is that
no,
what
I think
it
they
was?
were just sitting there.
Oh, okay.
So they were seeing it on the news
that's
that this
right.
whaling ship was taken out by the Kraken, and the dad's like, "Wait, what the fuck?" And the mom's like, also shocked, and they're both looking over, and they see the magazine that's got the picture of the Kraken, who looks exactly the same. So it's like, oh, he's making shit. But it's weird because it still doesn't feel like they've totally pieced it together. No. There's something going on there, but it is kind of funny, and I love the line, "A million sushi dinners cry out for vengeance." I think that's so funny. I also think that Aziraphale would feel personally attacked by that line, God, because he loves his sushi. I'm sure he's eaten more than his fair share of those million. Like over 6,000 years. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then we cut to Hastur and Ligger in hell. Hell is very
falling
miserable.
apart.
Yeah, falling apart. I mean, it's exactly what you were saying in episode 1 when you were talking about there's this very clear class divide between heaven and hell, and you can see that really acutely anytime you see hell.
And I mean, he's
everything's
saying,
leaking.
I'm supposed to be going to meet up with the boy.
Yeah, in Megiddo, but I have to wait for maintenance. Because it's leaking.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
You have an important job, like...
And he's a duke. It's not like he's a low-level demon.
Yeah,
he's a
that's
duke
what I'm
of
saying.
hell. Yeah, it's wild. It's kind of depressing, though, too, because you're like, damn, like, I almost feel sorry for you. Even though you're both assholes, I almost feel sorry for you. I do love how Ligger's eyes change color because he's a little chameleon. Like, that's what he's got on his head. So his eyes change color periodically. You don't notice it in other scenes, but here you really notice it. And I think it's a really cool effect that they did.
Yeah.
So then we go back to Jasmine Cottage. We see Anathema. She's got her prophecy alerts on her phone.
Yes.
I kind of like that idea.
Cool.
I think that's very clever.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
It's funny because in the book, I've said this before. I said this in my review of the book, but in the book, it specifically said that Anathema has been meaning to put them on the computer for like years, but she never does. So I like the idea that she kind of compromised and just put up alerts on her phone.
Yeah.
It's weird though, because how would you know the exact time? Because it's not like she's specific about time. So you kind of have to like guess.
Yeah.
But she like had it down to the minute. She was like, I know. And then of course we see Adam and them bringing in, wait, did I skip something? I feel like when I was talking about Adam seeing the picture of Satan, that actually was in this scene when Adam and them bring in Newt.
Was it at that time?
Now I don't
because
remember.
Because remember they were playing
it
on
all
the
kind of blends in.
Fence. Yeah, they'll have to help us in their comments.
So first Newt flips the car. Yes. So we don't even see, because there's like 50 other things that happen in between there. See, this is what happens. I get everything all mixed up in my mind.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a great review channel, So Newt flips the car, and then of course we cut to Megiddo, where Hastur is meeting Warlock and his parents. We don't get to see a lot of his parents, but I do love the whole line where his mother is having a conversation with the dad, and she says something about like, is this because I said the president's wife is a slut? Because I didn't say that. I just think that's
I know you
so
love that.
Funny because it's so like, I wish we got to see more of them.
Yeah.
And again, it's little things like that. I wish we got to see more of Warlock. I wish we got to see more of these like other things. Yeah. Because I just think it's funny and I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh no, my horns are falling.
What is that voice?
I don't know.
Oh my god. I love that Hastur and Eric, the disposable demon, are talking about, kind of what's going to happen next. I love that he calls them Dar Force 1 instead of Forces of Darkness. I think that's so fucking funny. And then, of course, Hastur gets annoyed and starts killing off Eric. And so there's 3 of them, and then there's 1 of them. Because he just kills them all. And it's like, girl, you're so rude. I just love that one of them died because he brought up the fact that Crowley invented the selfie.
Oh, he did not like that.
That's so
He's like, you know what I'm thinking? He grabs at his neck
That's
until
so
he's like...
fucking funny. I love the idea that Crowley invented the selfie because that makes sense to me.
Well, doesn't he say it another time too?
No, that's the only time it ever comes up.
Oh, maybe that's when
it feels fitting.
It feels fitting, for sure.
But it's just such a funny idea.
Because it's like, how dare you speak about Crowley?
Yeah, he just does not like him.
Because he thinks, like he always says, he has the easy life is what he thinks.
Well, everyone's kind of jealous of Crowley because he's like well-liked, but also doesn't seem to be wanting to play by the rules. And you know what? I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either.
And it's also like, I do find this kind of funny because it's like, okay, you're in hell. Why should you follow the rules? Like, wasn't that the whole point? What, you rebelled once and then, sorry, you have to follow our rules now. Like, seriously?
Right?
What? No. Every demon for themselves,
every demon
bitch.
for themselves, that's right.
Like, what? I don't get it. Then, now we're at the part where we cut back to Jasmine Cottage and Anathema and they bring in Newt. Okay, so I do have it in my notes that this is the point where Adam sees the devil and gets distracted. So I guess I was confused in my timing. See, this is kind of the problem is even though we've seen these like episodes 1,000 times, it all starts to blend together in these scenes. Yeah. We kind of already talked about it, but Adam, gets kind of cranky. He's given very Damien vibes. It's very well because that's what he's based on. It's the Antichrist, so it makes sense. And then of course we cut back to Megiddo, and this is where the whole scene with Warlock's parents and Warlock comes about. I love the joke, as stupid as it is. Well, hold on. I love the joke as stupid as it is, because I know what you're thinking of. I'm thinking of something else.
I know you are.
I love the joke, as stupid as it is, that Hastur explains his name and says his last name is La Vista.
Hastur La Vista.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. And it's so funny that every time you see it, it makes you laugh. And then, of course, we get Warlock talking to Hastur.
Well, first he says, "Where's your dog?"
Yeah, he goes, "Where's the dog?" And he's asking him questions. He goes, "Do you hear voices? What do they tell you?" And he goes, "The voices, they tell me you smell like poo." And he just gets so mad.
He's like, "What?"
Yeah. He goes, "You smell like poo." Like, he says it twice.
Yeah.
And he gets so fucking mad. And it's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
I can't with that. I think it's so funny because Warlock is such a little shit for that moment. Yeah. And again, it's kind of like, I wish we got to see more because that's so fucking iconic. I want to know how his parents reacted to that. Were they just like, I mean, they were kind of like, what the fuck? But like, it's so funny.
I mean, the whole... Like you said, the whole scene is like, she's like, what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah. I think Harriet Dowling is the only one who was like using her logic goggles that day. She's like, why the fuck are we here? Why are your wife and your kid here? And he's like, well, you don't question the State Department. And she's like, I'm gonna, because this doesn't make sense. Exactly. And I kind of love that because I'm like, okay, she's being logical about this. Yeah. And most people don't in situations like that.
Oh, yeah.
Crowley watching a movie. There's a little claymation scene where we see Hastur interrogating him. He knows that he lied. This isn't really the Antichrist. And I didn't realize this upon the first dozen watches, but I only noticed this yesterday for the first time, that actually Hastur's frog like moves, like when he's saying he points this way, the frog points this way. There's something else where he says the boy doesn't know, and so the frog shrugs. And then I love when he's talking about how the boy said he smelled like poo. The frog like hugs his face. It's kind of cute.
It's like, oh, yeah. Sorry, you smell like poo.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's like a little emotional support frog, which I think is really cute because I didn't notice that at first.
I didn't think about it like that.
I didn't notice it, and then I was like, oh, hey.
Frog.
And then, of course, Crowley takes off. Well, we cut back to Newt and Anathema getting to know each other. She tells him how she's a witch. She tells him about the prophecies, the end of the world. She's saying she can't find the Antichrist, and she tells him the prophecy, and he just kind of puts it together like, oh, Adam Young. And it's like, she's like, wait, what? And then she's like, oh, he can't be the Antichrist. He's like
such
the sweetest kid. Yeah. Which I think is kind of funny. We go back to Adam and them, and he's really coming into his power now. Like, he's really on his power trip. He's really taking them for a ride. Well, I mean, am I wrong?
Correct. No, you're not wrong.
Am I wrong? Correct.
Correct. You're wrong. I mean, you're wrong.
Fucking asshole. I hate you.
I know. I hate me too.
Then we cut to Crowley outside of the bookshop. Aziraphale's kind of walking by.
Oh.
He kind of like half-ass apologizes, and he's like, "Whatever I said, I'm sorry. Get in the car.
Get in the
like
car.
we gotta go. We gotta go." Yeah, I think it's kind of a cute moment.
Oh, it's so cute,
but also sad, as everything with them seems to be. I love that like Aziraphale thinks he's gonna talk to God, and he thinks that's gonna fix everything, and Crowley knows. He's like, you're not going to talk to God. Nobody fucking talks to God. Like, it's not happening.
Yeah. We
get our first version of Aziraphale saying, I forgive you, because Crowley calls him stupid.
Yes.
It is very harsh, but also, I mean, he's not entirely wrong.
Correct.
It's just, like, unfortunate that he had to say that. But, you know, that's our first kind of I forgive you moment. As depressing every time. It's less depressing in this situation, but yeah.
Yeah.
And again, you know, Crowley and Aziraphale have another breakup, their second in like 2 episodes, where Crowley's like, okay, well, I'm going to go get my stuff from the house and I'm going to run away and you're never going to see me again. I won't even think about you. And I love that there's like this passerby on the street who sees Aziraphale and is like, I've been there, girl. You're better off without him. It's just so funny.
But I mean, you see the look in his face.
Yeah, you see the look in Aziraphale's face and it's like, I don't think he is. I think he knows he's not better off without Crowley, but, you know, he can't say that. He's just like, all right, I'm just going to do what I got to do. Because he feels like he has to stay and protect the world. Mm-hmm. And I think Crowley's just like, I'm not going to die. So then we cut to Crowley getting the holy water in his house. Yeah. It's a very dramatic kind of like action-y scene. He's got
the rubber gloves on.
Yeah, he's got the rubber mask like he's about to murder somebody, rubber gloves up to his shoulders like he's about to do some fisting. He's really prepared for anything.
You were just all kinds of wrong.
I'm sorry. The thing that you said earlier today.
Oh, you need to be quiet.
No, but he's like got the rubber gloves up to his shoulders. He's like prepared. Yeah. And I do love it because he's holding it like it's literally, you know, nitroglycerin about to explode in his face, which technically for him it would be. Yes. But I do love that moment.
The whole...
I do love that. And you just noticed this. I love that Crowley's bell is a snake. His doorbell has a little snake. I think that's so cute. Same. I want that personally. And of course, Hastur and Ligger come by. He has his little like Home Alone trap for them.
Yes.
So he's got the little water pail above the door. So when Ligger opens it, it just splashes onto him. And that's when we get our very like Wicked Witch of the West, I'm melting moment. And it does look like that. It kind of gives that vibe. So
and then you're not sure who's screaming.
Yeah, just Hastur is screaming for like 20 minutes.
Screaming. Ah! Ah!
I love.
Why would I think the other one would be screaming? He's already melted.
Yeah, he does scream for a second.
Does he? Okay,
yeah,
I couldn't tell.
Well, I do think it's funny because he's like, he hadn't done nothing to you.
Oh yeah, nothing.
Yeah, and he's like, well, not yet. I do love that. And then there's that whole Dirty Harry line where he's like, do you feel lucky, punk? That's so funny. Tries to, you know, bluff with the plant mister, which of course Hastur sees right through and he explodes it in his hand, so he kind of has to.
Well, because he sees the drip and nothing did anything to him.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was a dead giveaway. Yeah. Why he took off the gloves, I still don't know, but I guess it probably makes it easier to hold the mister and do the whole, do you feel lucky, punk?
Yeah. So. I love that he decides to like try and con him and is like, yeah, you know, the the dark what do they call them? The Dark Council. He's going to call them. Council. And then he goes, and they say, so long, sucker. I love his little tongue.
But first he says, well, yeah. But before that, he says that he
basically tries to make him believe that it was a test. So,
yes, you passed the test.
Passed the test. Yeah.
Yes.
So he's like really trying to con him into believing it.
Yeah.
And then
because he kind of believes him. He's like, I have?
He's like
what did I win?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. What did I win?
What did I win?
And then Crowley disappears into the phone line.
He says, you won so long, sucker.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
No. I mean, that's what he does, and I love that. And then he jumps into the phone line, and then we get the narration from God, which is one of my favorite narrations. Yeah. Even though it's so apropos of nothing.
Yeah.
It's so apropos of nothing. It makes her narration worth it just for this little scene.
Yeah.
Because she's talking about the idea of how many angels can dance on the head of a pin.
I know. I was like, what the hell?
Which is apparently something that a lot of theologians have been studying. I had no idea until this scene or the book. That's not something I would have known about, but I guess I've never been a theologian. So, but anyway, I love that. And I love that she said, angels don't dance. That's the mark of an angel. So none. Well, nearly none. And then we get the line of, in the late 1880s, Aziraphale learned a dance called the gavotte in a discreet gentleman's club in Portland Place. So I think we all know what that means. I obviously looked it up. The gavotte is what's called a French kissing dance, peasants kissing dance, which ends with like kissing your partner. So like,
come on now.
We been done new. I do think it's so cute though, because he looks so adorable.
So it's considered the first gay club.
Yeah, basically that's what everyone's kind of said. Yeah, and it is. And I think if you like understand that era, it wasn't super uncommon. So it was like, discreet underground gay club where things, happen. Aziraphale's getting his dance on and his freak on. Like, whatever, girl.
And then she skips to...
I mean, to be fair, Crowley was asleep for like 90 years during that time, so he had nothing better to do.
And how many demons
can
dance
and then they go... And I love that this is where we get 70s Crowley with the mustache and the like disco lights, and he's got the bell bottoms and the big
hair.
Yeah.
Doesn't he?
Yeah, it's very what would you call that hair? It's not quite a mullet, but it's mullet-esque.
You know why? It's because they had those, not the
sideburns.
Yeah, but they weren't mutton. They were just sideburns.
Just regular sideburns.
Yeah.
Mutton chops were what they had in the 1800s.
And then the beard.
Yeah, the porn
mustache. Porn stash. Yes.
It's very porn stash. It's just so fucking funny. I love that scene. And
not that they could
They don't dance well.
They don't
do
dance well. Yeah.
I do love that.
Yeah.
I think that's so funny, the whole scene.
Yes.
Especially because, again, like I said, it's apropos of nothing. And then God's like, well, that's where Crowley went. And you're like, where? That's not what we were talking about. Back on track, lady. To me, that scene is worth it, even though, again, it's apropos of nothing. It comes out of nowhere. Yeah. It's exactly where it is in the book. But it's just like so out of left field that you're like, what? How did we get here? He traps Hastur in the phone lines and traps him like on his vintage answering machine, which I think is so funny. So then, of course, we see Aziraphale walking back to his bookshop. He's confronted by Uriel, Michael, and Sandalphon, and of course, he's terrified. People have pointed out in my comments, which of course I did realize, is that it kind of proves just how much he trusts Crowley, because when Crowley slams him up against the wall in episode 2, he doesn't flinch, he doesn't look scared at all. If anything, he looks annoyed when it's interrupted. Yeah. But when the angels push him up against the wall, he's like, oh shit, I am in trouble. He's like, oh God, what's going to happen to me? Yeah. And, I do love the line that Uriel says, don't think your boyfriend in the dark sunglasses can protect you, because it's, everyone knows. And he fucking smiles his ass off when she says that. I'm like, girl, you might want to tone it down. They already know too much.
Yeah. You're supposed to be pretending what?
Yeah, right.
Know
Who? What? Who are you talking about? But I do love when they leave back for heaven, he calls them bad angels, but there's like a second where he's like trying not to call them bitches. Yeah. Because he's like, you bad angels. And I'm like, God, I wish you would have just called them bitches. Yeah. Because they are.
He just doesn't want to go there.
I know. He doesn't like to swear until he does. And that's my favorite scene too. We will get there. So we then cut back to Adam coming into his power more. The them is not happy about it. Yeah. They're kind of at his mercy, basically. Yeah. We start to see him levitate in his little frustration. And even his hellhound is scared because that dog has become more, I almost said human. He's become more dog. His dog has become more dog. That old thing. Yeah. Anathema explains more about the predictions between the two of them. They nearly get carried away by a tornado. They go under the bed to protect themselves. And of course, we get a really way too long for my liking innuendo sex scene, I guess, because they don't show, for a show that's by Amazon where I think they can kind of get away with anything, they actually don't show a lot, but it goes on way too long and they cut back to it too many times. I just don't. I don't care for it. You know,
Yeah.
because like there's the scene where we cut back to the map in Shadwell's office and it's on fire, the little pin he put in Jasmine Cottage, and then it pops out. And even Madame Tracy notices that, and she's like, that's weird. It's like...
it's almost like she knew.
I don't know. Well, because I think he originally assumed it was like a gas leak or something. So it's kind of like, that's concerning. And then again, they cut back to the whole scene with Anathema and Newt, and it's like, okay, look, I don't want to watch these straight people fucking, so we gotta wrap this shit up. So then, of course, we go back to Adam for a minute, who's in the midst of his powers. Things are starting to get even more dark. So then, of course, we get to Aziraphale in his bookshop, and he decides to call upon a higher authority, and that's how he ends up getting the Metatron. I do love that he says, like, because the Metatron says he's the voice of God.
Yeah.
And Aziraphale's like, well, you're the voice of God the same way a presidential spokesman is the voice of the president. Like, I need to speak to actual God. I was like, okay, girl. She was not fucking around that day. I was like, okay.
No.
Got it. Obviously, his words in general are less than helpful because, as every other angel has said, the point of the war is to win it, not to avoid it. And so Aziraphale's kind of devastated by that. Then, of course, we see Shadwell kind of observing him. The Metatron kind of leaves, but he leaves the portal open. Aziraphale tries to contact Crowley. Then, of course, we see Shadwell kind of breaking in, and we get kind of some of the funnier moments. I love when Shadwell says something about luring women, and Aziraphale's like, I think perhaps you've got the wrong shop. I was like...
That was funny. It was perfect.
Yeah, it is one of my favorite... It's one of my favorite lines ever from the series. Mm-hmm. It's just so funny. I think about it all the time. And then, of course, you know, he tries to exorcise him. Aziraphale is trying really, really hard to get him to stay away from the circle. And in so doing, he backs himself up into the circle and gets discorporated. And then we get one of my other favorites, which is Aziraphale just being like, oh, fuck. And just whoop, and then he's gone. And then, of course, Shadwell is freaked out by that. And so he runs out and he shuts the door, and that knocks over a candle. And that's pretty much where it ends. And of course, Sound of Music is the first thing that goes up. I think that's kind of funny. I've mentioned this before, and I think it's really funny that the theme song, their little leitmotif for the theme, at the end of this episode kind of takes on a circus-y tone.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I think what makes it extra funny is we watched this episode after we had been watching Hell of a Boss, and one of the episodes that was more centered around the circus. So I was just like, ooh, the circus is following us today. That's the whole episode. Kind of a short one. So yeah, what did you think?
I thought it was...
What did you think?
No, it was one that made me laugh a lot.
Yeah. I would not say... I mean, here's the thing. Overall, was this my favorite episode? No. It wasn't... It was just kind of like middle for me.
Yeah, me too.
And I hate to say that, but it's kind of like, it's building up to kind of the last two episodes, you know, the fifth one being the penultimate episode of the season. Yeah. And then, you know, the season finale, which is episode 6, which we'll be getting to in the next 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. But overall, I don't think it's a terrible episode. No. I wouldn't say there's any like bad episodes. There's just episodes that aren't as good as the rest. Correct. And especially following an episode like episode 3, this is kind of just like very middle of the road.
Yes.
If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to comment down below. Tell me, what is your favorite scene? How do you feel about these reviews so far? And just how do you feel about the episodes in general? Like this video, of course. Subscribe to this channel. You can also become a member of this channel. That's a new thing that I'm very, very excited to promote and talk about. You get special emotes. You get special behind the scenes access to things. And of course, you get shout outs for all of my people who are joined, not subscribed. It's a different thing. Who are all my members get shout outs when you're part of the Our Side tier. You can also join my Patreon, patreon.com/NarcissaDeVille. That is also my members only behind the scenes kind of content. And until next time, stay devilish and see you next Tuesday. I'm really fucking up today.